Hello folks, back again with more ancient cosmography. So this is, a new comparison just showing the Red Hand of Ulster and, showing the giant, potentially Finn McCool, and his red hand that he throws on the Antrim coast, or it's like in the story, there's two giants, they're both competing to be Lord of Ireland, and whichever seizes Ireland first or touches it, the coast with their hand first, becomes Lord. So they're neck and neck, and one of the giants, and in one version it's Finn McCool, cuts off his left hand and throws it with his right hand across the Irish Sea and onto the Ulster coast. So, since it's across the Irish Sea, and it's obviously in Ulster, then it can pretty much only be in Antrim or County Antrim or County Down, but basically it has to be in County Antrim because that's the actual closest part. Or I don't know, that makes more sense to me. And here it actually does line up where you have what looks like a giant's left arm with a a stump where he cut off his hand and threw it here. And so these red mountains of Antrim with the red, I think it's red limestone in the soil and the rocks, that's the Red Hand of Ulster. Here it shows it there. So, this might not be super exact. This is based on the oral tradition. But they got the gist of it, that there's a giant. In this one it says it's Finn McCool, and that would make sense for Finn McCool to be Britain or to be part of Britain, because Britain was, Finn means white, and Britain was usually called the White Island, Albion, Alba. Even the Egyptians called it Sakami, which means the White Island. The white-haired one, like Finn McCool, is also the white-haired one. It's for the White Cliffs of Dover, which is white limestone, which is on the southern coast of England. So that's what sailors see when they reach Britain from Europe, is the White Island. But once they go through the Irish Sea, they see the Red Hand. And this is the main strait. This is the ultimate strait of the British Isles. Like, if you're sailing, just in general, like if you're sailing through the British Isles, this is the choke point. This is the narrowest part you're going to have to navigate, because if you sail, you can sail around Ireland and then you're good. Then you have nothing to, you have a very wide berth, obviously, you have the whole sea. Or you can sail around the other side of Britain, the eastern coast of Britain, and then you have the North Sea, and so that's pretty big, wide berth. So it's if you go between Britain and Ireland, which I think a lot of ancient sailors did, because it's probably even more placid than the North Sea. You'd have to know where you're going, and you have to especially know this strait, because this is the ultimate strait of the whole shebang. So you have to recognize Argyll here with Kintyre, Knockbracken, and Kintyre. And you have to recognize Antrim and the Red Hand. And once you pass the Red Hand, then you know you're good. You know you made it past that strait and you're into more open waters. You don't have to, probably these straits are the worst parts for pirates and stuff. There used to be a lot of pirates in the Irish Sea. So it's like you want to be able to get through those safely and then get out to more open waters. So, a lot of ancient mythology is about geography, and that's certainly true in Celtic tradition. Here's one where I made it even, like in this one, actually, this is not the normal color. So I did tweak the color to make it stand out more. I gave it like a yellower tint, because in the original, like in the the actual color of it is reddish brown. So I kind of just brought out the red a bit more in this photo by changing the hue, or the changing the exposure. No, changing the, forget what it's called. I just fiddle around with these photos on my phone. But this one, I think I fiddled with it even more to make it even redder. So yeah, that's not exactly what it actually looks like. It does have a somewhat reddish hue, but not to that extent. And so yeah, this just points to the two red hands of the Red Hand of Ulster, the genuine article, and a depiction of it. Yeah. And it is explicit in the tradition that it is the left hand. So that certainly fits for this, because this certainly looks like it's the left arm. That is the Argyll Peninsula, that peninsula of Argyll. So, it's these Antrim mountains here. So this is the thumb, and these are the fingers here. And there are also some mountains here. I think Slemish is here, but that's separate. So yeah, that makes sense that they would be prominent, because they're not only reddish brown, but they're also the highest elevation points in eastern Ulster, basically, other than east of the Sparran Mountains, which might be higher, and Mourne Mountains, I think, might be higher. But in this whole region here, these are the highest mountains. The Red Hand is the highest mountains. It's like, I think the fingers are delineated by the glens of Antrim, which, there's technically 9 glens of Antrim, but not all of them are right there. Some of them are further south, I think. So yeah, here's the actual color of the Red Hand. So it's like, for a sailor, it's like they had to recognize subtle differences. So I think this slightly reddish brown color compared to the green was just seen as red. For me, I would see it as brown, but when you're a geographer, there a lot of stuff is brown, so you probably get attuned to, you know, reddish brown or different shades of brown, I guess. You can't just be a geographer and be like, oh yeah, this island was brown and this other island was brown and then the other one was green. You have to be more like nuanced. So this area is called the Antrim Glen Coast and Glens area of natural beauty. So the red part are the mountains, and then the little green glens, that's the little valleys between the fingers. That's the green part. So it's near Ballymoney, Ballycastle. This is like where my paternal ancestors are from, this county, Antrim. My maternal ancestors are from that peninsula near it, Argyll, you know, Knockbrack and Kintyre area, or further into Argyll maybe. And then they moved to here, I guess, somewhere in Donegal, Drumabodin, not Limavady, but or I don't know. Anyway, maybe Ramilton. So yeah, this is a major heartland of the Ulster Scots. Ballymoney is there. I think Ballymena is not too far. So they speak with a very strong Scottish dialect in East Ulster, because the Scots settled there in the 1600s, and they're still the majority. And let's see. So this shows that comparison together with the avatar of what seems to be the avatar of Britain and Ireland from Tomb 100 at Hierakonpolis, the oldest Egyptian painted tomb, which is a map of the planet. And, you know, in the kind of northeastern section up against Europe, it has this. And so, you know, it seems to be that this guy is Britain and maybe Finn McCool. I think in the later Egyptian Book of Two Ways, Britain is referred to as the white-haired one. So maybe even in this, it was referred to as such. It's the White Island or the White-haired Island or some variation on that. It is whiter compared to most of the other islands and avatars in this map. Most of them are painted dark brown and whatnot, or at least a lot of them are, the anthropomorphs. So, you know, he's holding Ireland, with Ireland being represented by these three hostages whose heads are Ulster, Connacht, and Munster, the three kind of western provinces. And then Leinster is part of the harness, which is attached to Wales here, which is this, you know, these two peninsulas kind of. And, you know, his club that he's holding is the Outer Hebrides there. And his arm that he's holding Ulster with is Argyll. So this perfectly fits for that story of the Red Hand, because his arm is exactly, you know, that peninsula, and so his hand has to be that. It has to be right there. So the chances are the Red Hand of Ulster, you know, it's the modern symbol of Ulster, of Northern Ireland, of, you know, and of the O'Neills and some of the Ulster families. But but it's probably very old. It's probably older than this. It's probably older than 5,500 years ago. So it's probably well predates the Bronze Age. I mean, it's probably from the Upper Paleolithic, honestly, but who knows for sure. But yeah, you can see there, you know, like this is that, this is this arm right here, is that peninsula there, and this arm and hand, you know, Isla and Jura are right there, right next to it. And then they're obviously the closest part of Britain to Ireland. And the second closest would be Galloway here, like at which I'm guessing represents the other giant that was competing to be Lord of Ireland, and that this would be the other giant's arm and hand. Because I think sometimes Britain in the Fenian cycle could be divided into a bunch of avatars, and then could also appear